Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RTD news updates. And as you can tell from today's title, Musk, Zuckerberg, and the state of Hawaii calls for universal basic income. We're going to be talking about the idea that right now in the state of Hawaii, legislation is underway in regards to giving citizens just a basic amount of income to survive, based upon the fact that the cost of living is so high in the state of Hawaii. And so I want to share with you about 5 or so articles on why this subject matter will be very important in the months, years ahead, because it might be something that may be adopted more by other states as well, beyond the point of being experimented with in countries in Europe and things like that. So other than that, I got 5 or so articles. As always, I'm going to leave the links below. And if you're new to RTD, click the subscribe button to be informed of more interviews and updates and industry interviews, as well as just sharing this information to our family and friends so they can become more monetarily aware on issues surrounding the dollar as well as their own pocketbook. So let's dive into today's news. So, as I mentioned, I have 5 articles all dealing with this current subject of universal basic income, which I believe is not really mainstream right now, but pretty soon there's going to be more states that adopt this idea or look into it, for the simple fact that the cost of living is going through the roof and people aren't really making that much money these days because of just the corruption and the corrosion of our monetary system. So, the very first article here is from Business Insider, and it's entitled, Hawaii just became the first U.S. state to pass a bill supporting basic income. The very next article here is from the Houston Chronicle, and it says, universal basic income would pay everyone to improve quality of life. And then the next one here is from True News, and it's Elon Musk prepare for universal basic income. And then the next one here is from CNN Money from about a month ago, but it's Mark Zuckerberg supports universal basic income. What is it? And then the next one here is from the Huffington Post again, and it says, is universal basic income inevitable? So, like always, I'm going to just try to scan through these as fast as I can, give you an idea what's going on. But if you're interested in the subject matter, feel free to check below with the links and dive in further for yourself. But just to give you an idea what's going on the surface, it says innovation and forward thinking may be Hawaii's 2 biggest exports in 2017. It says on June 15, Hawaii State Representative Chris Lee wrote a Reddit post about House Concurrent Resolution 89, a bill he says introduced in order to start a conversation about our future. It says, after much work and with the help of a few colleagues, it passed both the House of State Senate unanimously. It says, Lee also mentioned on Twitter, he says, Hawaii first stated to declare everyone deserves, notice that, everyone deserves a basic financial security in the form of universal basic income. It says the bill has 2 major provisions. He said, first, it declares that all families in Hawaii are entitled to basic financial security. As far as I'm told, it's the first time any state, he said, made such a pronouncement, wrote Lee. He said the second provision establishes a number of government offices to analyze our state's economy and find out ways to ensure all families have basic financial security, including an evaluation of different forms of a full and partial universal basic income. So I'm gonna pause right there and share my thoughts. The idea that every person is entitled to as it says, a basic financial security. Never mind the fact that the whole idea of working and earning and just the things that go into taking care of yourself has nothing or should have nothing to do with the government or Congress, politicians, or anything taking responsibility for each and every individual's personal well-being. But because of our monetary system, no one seems to point the blame at the source, which is the whole central banking model with fractional reserve lending and all those things that go along with that model that's not working. They're saying that we need to be the middlemen in helping people better secure financial security, as they call it. So more information there if you're interested in reading it. Scroll down below. The next one here is from Houston Chronicle, and it says universal basic income would pay everyone to improve quality of life. So listen to those words, improve the quality of life. It says, with an impending robot revolution expected to take a trail of unemployment, some Silicon Valley tech leaders think they have a remedy to a future with fewer jobs, free money for all. It's called universal basic income, a radical concept that would provide all Americans with a minimum level of economic security. Notice the word security. Everyone keeps saying the word security. There's nothing going to be secure in giving something away for free and, with nothing behind it. It's going to lead to massive inflation, aka hyperinflation, which is going to cause more problems. But I'll read on. The idea is expensive and controversial. It guarantees cash for everyone, regardless of income level or employment status. But prominent tech leaders, including Tesla, Elon Musk and Sam Altman, president of startup accelerator Y Combinator, supports it. It says, quotes Mr. Altman, I believe, says we should make it to it so no one is worried about how they're going to pay for a place to live. No one has to worry about how they're going to have enough to eat, Altman said in a recent speech in San Francisco. Just give people enough to make, give people enough money to have a reasonable quality of life. So the question will be, what will be that ideal figure to give them a quality level of life, being that the cost of living is so high? Says Stanford University has created a basic income lab to study the idea, and the San Francisco City Treasurer's Office has said it's designing tests, though the department said it has no updates on the status of the project. So they've been doing this for quite a while, but yet if you scroll down and read a little more, it mentions how, you know, the writer of this article has tried to reach out to the people responsible for this Y contributor or this whole project here to get results, but yet no one's reaching out to give them results. So not quite sure if it's working or what the actual, you know, problem might be thus far, but there's no proven results that this model would even work. And so just goes to show how the words they're playing out there, quality of life, security, all that stuff, I'm sure will sound very attractive to a lot of people around this country. But if you're interested, feel free to read more for yourself. Next one here from True News, Elon Musk. Everyone should know him. He's the Tesla guy, the SpaceX program, you know, is an entrepreneur who's really you know, changing the game with technologies that are, you know, going to be a very impactful to our lives in the future. And so this guy, he's a forward thinker. So let's see what he has to say. It says, what would America look like? 47% of working age Americans no longer were employed. It says, and how could a country deal with a 47% job loss? It's a prediction one study suggested in 2013, and one billionaire thinks he has an answer. According to the Oxford University study called The Future of Employment, done by Carl Benedict Frey and Michael O. Osborne, by the year 2023 and through 2033, 47% of United States jobs will be replaced by artificial intelligence or automation. It says, well, Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, believes the answer is held in something called a universal basic income, where every citizen is allotted X amount of dollars each month to be able to live and sustain their life and basic needs. He says, just quoting Elon Musk, it says, there's a pretty good chance we end up with a universal basic income or something like that due to automation. Musk said, yeah, I am not sure what else one would do. I think that it's what would happen. He said, the major concern with economic universal basic income is obvious. Where with a lot of money of going to each person come from? It will come through radically taxing those still employed. Those who have not yet lost their job due to automation. This is a nerve-wracking thought because it creates a lack of ambition in the general public. It's an idea of Elon Musk, a very wealthy entrepreneur, sharing his thoughts on why he believes it's inevitable because there will be no jobs. And so people will need money to sustain themselves. So why not just print it up and give it to them? So interesting. More below if you're interested. Next one here is from CNN Money. It says Mark Zuckerberg supports universal basic income. So this is from his commencement speech at University of Harvard. From a couple weeks ago. Just give an idea what he said and what his thoughts are. It says Facebook founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg supports an idea called universal basic income. It says we should explore ideas like universal income to make sure that everyone has a cushion to try new ideas. So we have security, we have as he says here, a cushion, we have financial security. And so all these terms they're throwing out there to make it sound appealing, to give people something for nothing, not realizing that that's not possible. So what exactly is it? It's a concept that's getting a lot of attention, especially in Silicon Valley. A country that has universal basic income guarantees every person a set minimum income regardless of criteria, age, wealth, job status, home, town, family, etc. That means everyone gets a paycheck, whether they have a job or not. However, the countries actually experimenting with the concept, which is Canada and Finland, aren't embracing the universal nature of it so far. They are not only giving guaranteed income to residents who were either recently on unemployment benefits or are low income. Scroll down, give you a little more. It says proponents say that the aim to give workers greater financial security as concerns rise about machines taking away jobs. It's also intended to alleviate income inequality. So another aspect, alleviate income inequality. It says critics say that the idea has good intentions, but it doesn't solve bigger problems related to wage growth in recent decades. They also say it challenges the notion that you need to work to earn money. So the very last article here is from Huffington Post, and it says, is universal basic income inevitable? And so, give you an idea what's going on here. It says, well, why is it all that a rich country like the U.S., poverty continues to affect 50 million citizens, about 15% of our citizens. At the other end, the top 0.1% of our citizens receive 40% of all income and own 40% of all wealth. Numerous studies show that our income distribution, instead of getting more equally, is growing more inequitably over time. Is this an inevitable feature of capitalism? Those with the capital continue to grow richer. Those without capital can only sell their labor, and in markets where their capital is replacing labor, the number of jobs and median pay are both likely to get smaller. The jobs that built the middle class, largely factory jobs in the steel and auto industry, were pay often amounted to $30 an hour. Those jobs are gone. So there will be fewer available jobs over time as globalization and digitalization move rapidly forward. It says the good news is goods will get cheaper. The bad news will be that jobs will disappear. Scroll down a little bit more, and it talks about here. It said a means test is at the heart of our program to help lower income earners. It says the program goes under the name of Earned Income Credit. It says the economist Milton Friedman proposed it in the 1960s as a poverty-fighting measure and called it negative income tax. If a family earns less than a certain amount, vary by family size, the government sends them a check to support their income. This program has been accepted by both politicians on both the left and the right. It says yet there's a group that believe in that consider to be a better program called the Universal Basic Income. It says Thomas More proposed it is to work in utopia in the 16th century. President Nixon even considered it a short time in the 1960s. It says in 1967, Martin Luther King Jr. wrote, I am now convinced that the simplest approach will prove to be the most effective. The solution to poverty is to abolish it directly by a now widely discussed measure, the guaranteed income. So here you have, this person here is trying to throw out a lot of, famous names and presidents and, civil rights advocates that were in favor of some type of allowance or allotment of money, just to kind of prove the point of the idea that, it should be something that people should consider and look into. But I'm gonna stop it right there and give you my thoughts on it. So as I mentioned before, this has to do with rethinking a dollar. Imagine if everything is given to you directly without you having to work for it. What motivation would you have to actually get up and do something? And so think about just continually getting a check or a deposit into your checking account of Federal Reserve notes that are just continuously printed out of nowhere. Not only has the purchasing power of the Federal Reserve note lost 98% of its purchasing power, but imagine if, they continue to print even more out of nowhere due to legislation. It would basically cost every single thing that you need to survive, food, clothing, shelter, because, it's more digits, more paper competing for the same amount of goods. And so everything is guaranteed to go up in price, which will not be a good thing. So people are going to continue to want more because under this current monetary system of fractional reserve lending and banking, it's no way that you can have a even kill. One is going to always outdo the other. So inflation is going to continue to rise. So people are going to always want to need more money. So more. So it's going to be a problem anywhere it goes. So the idea that universal basic income is being considered or being talked about lets me know that when the next downturn comes as a part of the monetary policy or whatever tool, some people refer to it as helicopter money, where the government basically, the Fed basically just bypasses the banks and go right directly to the people. Those are things that will be considered, talked about, because it's already mainstream. So if it's mainstream, I mean, it's already in the works, or already there's a game plan for it. So by the time it hits mainstream media, it's already old news, of course. So the idea that people are thinking about it and considering it should be alarming to you, being that if you are a person who works hard, saves, and you are a contributor to society, and you're sitting on a good chunk of your money as well as your retirement vehicles. Imagine if those who don't contribute and don't work all of a sudden get the same amount of money or digits in their bank account as you. It's gonna make you feel like you've been cheated, and technically you have been. So just wanted to share my thoughts on this universal basic income. I would love to hear your thoughts. Scroll down below and let me know your thoughts on this whole concept of universal basic income. Is it something that you are for or against? Or give me your thoughts on how it will turn out if this is an option that is actually go through in Hawaii as well as in other states. So other than that, hope all is well. See you soon.